Okay, so welcome to the webinar and on how to land remote job by Arif Khan. As the title speaks itself, this session will basically allow you to give the broader picture on what is needed to land a good remote opportunity. And if you have any question, please write in chat, and at the end you can raise your hand and you will be unmuted. So for the introduction session, I'm Marine, host for the session with around 6 years of experience, including 2+ experience working remotely. And we have Muhammad Ali with us. He is a moderator and he has around 3+ years of working remotely. And, and finally, can you move to the next slide, Arif? And finally, we have our speaker for today, that's Arif Khan, with more than 7+ overall experience and 4+ years of experience in multiple remote jobs. So over to you, Arif. You can take off from here.
Thanks, Marine, for the introduction. Thanks, everyone, for joining once again, talking about the agenda of today. So the agenda is not going to be, I'm not going to offer you a job. If you're expecting me to offer you a job here, no, that's not the agenda. I'm not going to teach you freelancing, a specific tool or a framework or any of the programming languages. I'm sorry if you're coming up with that expectation from me for this session, no. And we are not going to talk about pros and cons of remote jobs, right? That's not going to be our agenda for today's session. And I'm going to keep it limited to 35 minutes maximum, this whole session, including the questions and answer session. So what's our agenda for today? It's going to be about the skills which are required for full-time remote jobs. How can you search and apply at best remote companies? Then what's the remote hiring process? How does it work? And then in the last, we will discuss very briefly, why do people still fail? Why can't they still land a good remote job? Okay, first of all, very briefly, what is a remote job, right? We don't have any dedicated office. You don't have to commute to that specific office, and maybe it's somewhere far away from your home, maybe in any other country, in any other region. It can be anywhere. It can be even within your country, right? And you can work from the comfort of your home or any place you want. You can go to any co-working space. You can join in any place and just start working. It doesn't require you to sit at a specific place. And one important aspect of remote job is it's not about just spending time at the seat. It's more about solving problems and providing expected value for whatever you are hired. Okay, first things first, to be a part of the best companies in the world, you have to be the best in your knowledge, skills, and abilities. Now, what does that actually mean? Let's just dive in a bit. We have been listening to this a lot, that whatever job you are hired for, you have to come up with a combination of hard and soft skills. As you can see, using those hard and soft skills will help you land that job for any of the employers, whatever job you're trying to achieve, right? It can be a remote job, it can be an on-site job, it can be at any company of the world. But what exactly does hard and soft skills mean, right? I'm going to introduce you to this phenomena, or maybe a philosophy. There are two things. One is breadth of knowledge, how much of broader general knowledge you have of different things, right? Different skills. And the other thing is the depth of the knowledge. What that means is, let's assume we are talking about software engineers. So there can be Java software engineers. What exactly the jobs expect from them? Is it only coding a piece of Java in a specific framework? It can be something else as well. You can be called specialist, as you can see on the extreme left side, a specialist I-shaped. You can be just a hyphen, like you might have a very broader language, but you are not a specialist of anything specific. You can just create plans and you can just give good suggestions, nothing more than that. You are not a specialist of any specific technology framework, or maybe more than one, a specialist of more than one technologies. So keep this in mind. I'm just going to explain it a bit more moving ahead. Okay, to answer what skills, there are different things, right? Just as I explained, you need to come up with a broader general language, general understanding, knowledge of things. First things first is human skills. As soon as you apply to any of the remote opportunities, if you don't have remote relevant communication skills, when to send a message to a colleague, when to have a call with a colleague, and how should you be communicating, because when you are typing something in, you are they can't actually see, and they can't actually see your expressions, your emotions at that specific time. So something you might have written with good intentions might make you make you display like something very bad, right? So you need to understand good communication skills for the remote jobs. By the way, this slide, I intentionally made it so cluttered, so you can maybe take a screenshot of this one and save it and search and learn about each and every one of these specific skills and competencies, because it's going to take time to elaborate all of these. I'm just going to walk you through among them, right? Then there is problem solving, creativity, collaborative. One of the important human skills is emotional intelligence. If you haven't heard about this one, just Google about it and learn more about this one. You must be very positive. You must carry that positive attitude. Then coming towards technical skills, since this webinar is not specific to any specific field, we are not talking about software engineers only, maybe not only about web developers, we're not talking about SQAs only, not about marketing specialists, but we're talking about the broader remote jobs field, right? So what you need to do is you need to understand and learn basic and advanced knowledge of your field, right? It can be anything. Just Google, let's assume you're working as a JavaScript engineer. You need to learn the basics and advanced knowledge of JavaScript, right? What's going on around the world. And then you need to understand, learn some of the languages, tools, frameworks, their basics and advanced knowledge of this. And the most important part of this is to understand best practices, patterns in that specific domain, whatever you are working in. If you're not doing this, I see a lot of candidates fail because of this specific thing. They actually don't learn with an intention of learning best practices. It can be any practices. It can be practices you might have created, but they should answer the why part, right? If we talk about specifically software engineering domain, you need to learn and understand Agile, CI/CD, how does it work, Git, GitHub, Jenkins, AWS. You don't necessarily need to be, a pro maybe or a master of these, but at least a medium level knowledge of these would help you to land a good software engineering job. And then there are some other competencies, right? On the top, we have remote work skills. Then we're talking about confident, but yeah, not being overconfident. You must know what confidence is. You can just Google more about it. I'm not going to dive into each specific topic, right? You have to be courteous. You have to have that curiosity, time management, cultural fit, data literacy. These are going to be explained in the next upcoming slides itself. So just maybe take a screenshot of this and save it and take a look at these later on. Okay. So what's the remote hiring process? I don't think it's pretty much different than a general hiring process, right? But just to streamline things a bit, you have to learn, unlearn, and relearn. I will explain further why have I written this. Then you have to update your resume. I prefer to update my LinkedIn quite often. Then you have to find, search the jobs. then go through the recruiting process. If you're selected for the interviews, technical, non-technical, then you might have specifically in remote hiring process, there are some tests. They might be any kind of test. They might give you a home assignment, right? And then the final step is negotiation, and then just moving ahead with the job. Okay, first things first, learn, unlearn, and relearn. I could have just simply written that learn XYZ for marketing, learn XYZ ABC for software engineering. No, that's not how it works, right? You have to search words trending in your domain, right? And by domain, I mean your field. Talking about maybe front-end engineering or maybe back-end engineering. You can, if it comes up in the job descriptions, if it comes up as a new technology, you can learn GraphQL, JS. I mean, specific to your domain, you need to learn those things if you haven't even heard about them. And most importantly, unlearn outdated techniques. I'm not saying unlearn the languages you already know, right? Unlearn the frameworks you already know, but yeah, unlearn the outdated techniques. What this means is that you have to come out of that rigid mindset of, if I'm doing it this way, since I carry maybe 10 or 15 years of experience, yeah, I'm going to land this job and what I say is perfectly fine. No, that's not how it works, right? Unlearn that, right? That attitude, just get rid of that attitude, unlearn that get rid of that specific technique. Let's take an example of waterfall. So uh, people in the software industry have been working with waterfall for last more than, I believe, 20 or 30 years, or even more than that, right? If someone, an old age person comes in and he or she says that I have more than 30 years of experience, you're a new kid to this industry, not even carrying an experience of 10 years. So since I do it this way, you have to do it this way. No, that's not how it works, right? Technology is evolving, so are the techniques evolving. So you need to unlearn those, relearn the new things, whatever is trending. And on the right side, you can see this P, right? This is exactly what I was trying to elaborate in the slide earlier. If you're, let's say, a test engineer, in the broader knowledge, you must be able to, understand how to write executable documents. From the programmer column, you must be able to write and understand unit tests. Even if you're not writing them very frequently, you must be able to understand them. And then your own, like for a test engineer, it can be creation of automated tests, it can be functional testing, test planning, and so on. So the depth would be your own field, but then let's move ahead to the web designer part. You must understand the design part. You must understand, have a broader knowledge of, it can be even on a higher level, not being very much a master of DevOps, right? Just understand it. The next step is, okay, now you have learned some of the things. You saw that I need to learn XYZ, ABC list of things. After learning something about them, now you want to just move ahead and start applying. But before that, you need to learn how to market yourself. And LinkedIn is one of the best places, I must say, if you want to market yourself in any way, right? Try to look at LinkedIn as a portfolio instead of just a resume, right? Some people, what they do is, I have been doing these XYZ things at a specific company. No, that doesn't make sense. I will explain it a bit more in detail, right? Link your GitHub, or let's say if you are a developer or a test automation expert or a software engineer, link your GitHub to your link, or just, give it your designs, then whatever projects you have worked on, try to write articles, link your personal websites, blogs over there, try to link Stack Overflow with it. Even if you're creating a resume, try to look at it from this perspective. And this is, as I said, best place to reach people, recruiters of the jobs, and be reached out by the recruiters. So it's a two-way process. That is why LinkedIn, as I said, is one of the best places to land your remote job, especially, right? And then in your LinkedIn profile, or even if you're just creating a resume, try to include those keywords. Remote, if you're a software developer or SQL expert, try to include these keywords, right? GitHub, CI/CD, data analysis, something related to data. Because what happens is recruiters actually do get the automated, that collection of a couple of profiles or resumes based on the keywords they insert for their whatever they're looking for. So you need to include those keywords, and then write relevant and positive content on the LinkedIn. It really helps and makes you more visible in the search. Okay, try to pass skills assessment. There is a section on LinkedIn where you can try to pass that skills assessment that makes you more visible to the recruiters. And finally, you can apply via LinkedIn once you feel like you have learned maybe enough of the things, or you just go ahead for it, right? Okay, this is one of the examples. How does a good or bad resume looks like? The one on the left side, why is it bad? I will just explain. If you look at the experience section, I'm not exactly sure if this is visible very well to you. Increase. Okay, so on the left side, if you see in the second experience, organization is current systems, and then the scope of work responsible for full stack web development for all clients. It's quite generic, right? Increased customer satisfaction and retention, decreased lead times a lot, and reduced data storage. These are just sort of, stories, made up stories with no concrete evidence what exactly you did. And then if you look on the right side of things in the current systems, look at the second bullet item, increased customer satisfaction by 35% and customer retention by 40%. So you have to be very much quantitative in your resume. You have to be very specific what exactly you did. Let's say my profession, if I'm a test automation expert, I just can't say I have automated everything, right? That's just a false statement. What I need to do is I need to explain what exactly did I do, how much did I cover with my automated tests, and what specific language did I use, what specific integrations I used, right? Those sort of things. So you need to be more specific in these. The next step is going to be find and apply for jobs. Once you have developed a good resume, or maybe a LinkedIn profile or a portfolio. This is one of the questions which I get most of the times, and this is one of the reasons I'm conducting this webinar. And people are like, okay, how do I want to start working remotely, where do I start, right? As I explained the pre-steps, and they want to start directly from this point, but the 2 steps earlier are more important in my opinion. This one is pretty much easy. You can just go to maybe any search engines, then just type in, let's say I'm a Java developer, right? Just write in Java developer remote jobs. Yay, magic done, right? Nothing difficult. But yeah, let me just break it down a little for you. Look for best remote companies in the world. Just search it, right? You will find a huge list. I will just short this list for you. Then sign up at remote jobs platforms. You might not be aware of this, but just like LinkedIn or Facebook or any other social media platform, you can sign up on some of the remote jobs boards, they call it, or maybe platforms, right? And as far as I know, most of them are free. As an example, one can be TopTel, the other one can be Flex Jobs. Okay, then get into the company's websites, look at the careers portion, and then if you find something in there, just apply for it. As I said, LinkedIn is the best place to apply for jobs and be reached out by the recruiters. Stack Overflow, you might have observed a listing of jobs on Stack Overflow. You might be looking for some solutions, but you might find a job advertisement there, right? And then most importantly, wherever you're applying, try to follow the apply instructions. Don't miss out any sort of details for the application instructions. Okay, once you have applied for that, let me just break down the list a bit for you. Top 10 remote companies. I have listed the sources: CNBC, HubStaff, Swiftly, TopTel, Doist, FlexJobs, Automatic, Zapier, Ghost, Fantastic, I believe, Buffer. You can just take a screenshot of this, or maybe later I will send you the video, then you can look up for them. These are some of the best remote companies around the world, right? Who actually hires teams from all around the world, from different backgrounds, from different languages, right? Okay, let's say you applied for a job and you receive an email for an interview. What to do next? For remote jobs, online interviews are a bit different, right? And I must say, just go ahead for the interview. Just don't hesitate to, uh, think more in your mind, and you shouldn't be like, okay, I don't have enough experience or I haven't prepared enough. I must say, just go for it, because interviews themselves are an experience. They're counted as an experience, right? And then during the interview, use good camera, lighting, microphone. I mean, you must be visible. Your audio should be clear. And during the interview, one of the most important thing is to be positive, right? Try to stay positive. And your speaking should reflect your positivity. You must be honest. If you don't know something, that's totally fine. Just mention it that I don't know. And I would like to learn that thing. Thanks for informing me about this thing. Keep that positive attitude during the interview. It really helps. And it's fine to get nervous sometimes, right? Most of the times during the interviews, specifically in remote interviews, where the pressure is of joining in an international company, where the expectation from you might be much more than what it can be maybe in any of the local companies. Maybe I'm not actually being biased among the local companies and remote companies, but yeah, that's sort of a pressure we take ourselves. So feel easy, and that's totally fine to get nervous sometimes. Just keep going with that. And most importantly, the last point: stand out with openness and crisp storytelling. If someone asks you a question, try to conclude it in form of a story. Be more open about that specific thing. It can be, I'm not going to name any language or technology. It can be anything. But yeah, talking about anything, try to be a crisp storyteller, just one or two liner in your answers. That's going to depict your personality and what you have been doing, because they don't know you personally. They haven't seen you. Where do you live? What exactly have you been doing? This would reflect your honesty and integrity. Once you clear that, the initial interview or initial screening, you will be given an online test or more than one test. And in most of the cases for remote jobs, you will be given a home assignment specific to your technology or your domain. First things first, don't panic. As soon as you sometimes see that description of the problem, you might feel like, oh, what the hell? What is this? How do I solve this? Just don't panic. Just calm down. Try to understand the problem. What exactly is the problem? Because sometimes problem statements are difficult, easier than the solutions themselves, right? I mean, the solutions are easier. I don't know how did I say that, but yeah, the solutions are easier than the problem statements themselves. Yeah, I said it right. Okay, and then if you have any questions, even during the online test, that's totally fine to ask to the point questions. If you feel like, okay, I don't understand this problem, what exactly does this mean? Do I need to solve it this way? Just don't directly go away and like, oh, this one is easier. No, just don't do that. Try to understand the problem and ask to the point questions. In your solution, whatever solution you have decided, be it for the online test or be it for the home assignment, take home assignment, your solution should answer why very well. And what I mean by that is there might be hundreds of solutions to that specific problem. Why did you choose the way to solve this problem the way you are solving? You must be able to answer that. If you're not, it means you're not doing it good enough, right? Solutions should be clean, reliable, and following standards. It's the same thing which I mentioned earlier, practices, right? Standards. Attention to details, proofread. Once you are done with your solution, if you have enough time, just try to proofread it and see if you're missing something out. This is once again one of the very core reasons why you're rejected during your tests or home assignments. This is, trust me, this is one of the core reasons. Yes, Google, ask people, but try to do the home assignments yourself. Don't try to reach out to people of the company and then ask them, hey, can you solve this home assignment for me or test for me? No, that's never going to happen, right? And then negotiation and final steps. Understand the bigger picture of everything before you get into the final interviews. Because what happens is in the final interviews, just before the negotiation, you're asked things from a much bigger perspective. And what I mean by that is you won't be asked, okay, how do you do, how do you perform inheritance within JavaScript? Is JavaScript an OOP language or not? Not like that, right? In the final steps, in your final interviews, you will be asked much bigger picture questions like how do you manage stakeholders? How would you manage a specific situation where your product owner is fighting with you? He's misbehaving with you, or she's misbehaving with you. So you need to understand the bigger picture of the business. You need to understand what value are you going to provide. Look at it from that broader perspective. And about salaries, this is once again a very crucial question. Search for average salaries on Glassdoor or maybe on any of the other platforms specific to your experience, to your role, to your domain, right? Search for them. And don't overestimate or underestimate yourself. If you feel like your title should be a senior engineer, don't hesitate to ask for it, right? And don't overestimate yourself. If you're not, I mean, you can evaluate yourself very well, better than anyone else, right? So neither overestimate yourself nor underestimate yourself. Okay, last things, just 1 or 2 slides. During the process, understand the hiring process from the company themselves. This is one of the biggest mistake I see people doing. They try to reach out different people from different domains, from different companies, or even the company itself, and they try to get into your inbox in LinkedIn or other place, and they're like, hey, what's the hiring process? Okay, you should be asking that question from the recruiter very much openly, right? You should look up on the website, try to understand the hiring process from there. Look for a company on LinkedIn, Glassdoor for authenticity. This is once again one of the most crucial things to keep in mind. You might be scammed with remote jobs. So do your research as much as possible. Look up for that company on LinkedIn, Glassdoor, look at their website, look up if they're in news anywhere, if they're suspicious, right? And throughout the process, build a trust factor, right? Just like employer is looking at you from that trust factor element, you should build your own trust factor. And stay patient and courteous. This is one of the things I see a lot of people lacking. Say thank you more. If you are wrong, say sorry. If someone is giving you even a minute or just responds to you, be very much effective communicator in your emails, in your communications, in your interviews. Thank the company for giving you their time, right? And if you have any questions, ask them openly. Yeah, there shouldn't be annoying ones. Okay, cool. Why do people still fail? Even though they do this, but they still fail, right? They might lack in the very basic thing, that is lack in technical skills. If you don't have those technical skills, yes, you will be rejected straight away. You need to learn and relearn, right? Lack in other competencies, just from any of the competencies, you don't carry that positive attitude, right? If you're not a team worker, they might get to know about it during the interviews. If they see you a negative person, they might not hire you, right? You are not learning from your mistakes. You might have given a lot of remote interviews, but you're not learning from your mistakes. Keep learning from them and keep applying those. There is a mismatch between your resume and what the employer needs from you. There is a mismatch gap between them. Try to fill that gap. Try to get the feedback of the employer. At whatever stage you are rejected, try to get the feedback, right? Most of the companies do give feedback, specifically international companies, remote companies, they do give you the feedback. At least I have been getting feedback, be it positive or negative, it can be anything. But yeah, try to get that feedback. Or maybe you are not a good fit for remote work. You might have more than 5 or 10 years of experience in on-site jobs, but you might not carry those remote work skills. I'm not going to get into details. What exactly are they? Maybe we might need a separate session for that. But just on a higher level, they might not find you, maybe honest. You might not provide the expected value within the given time frame. They might be very fast paced, right? And then company might find you suspicious. Although you might not be the suspicious one, but be very careful with this one. Try to stay as positive as possible in your communication on your social media platforms. Okay, this is one of the silver bullets. If you ask me what's the summary of this presentation today and the 35 minutes talk you just gave, this is the last slide. I think, yeah, last. Okay, this is the silver bullet, right? If you ask me just one thing, what's the way? I would say continuous improvement. Plan, strategy of what to do and how to do it, then act and implement whatever you have planned, right? Implement the action plan, action items, like applying for different multiple jobs, just apply on it. Then review, talking about applying for jobs, review and retrospect your own process of applying for jobs. Is it working out? Is it giving you any benefit or not? Are you being shortlisted for the interviews or not? Be it on any of the stage, right? Be it on the interview phase, tests, home assignment phase, be it the negotiation phase. Just keep repeating this loop. Just don't stop, right? Keep doing this. I mean, this is applicable to any kind of improvement, be it remote jobs, hiring or getting or landing that job, be it something with any of the technology you are learning, right? Yeah, that's it. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, specific, relevant to the topic, what we discussed today, you can raise your hands in Slack. Marine, you can
Oh,
take the questions or maybe pick.
yeah. First thing, there's a couple of questions on chat, so let's answer them first. And there's one from Hassan, and that regarding LinkedIn. That sometimes people overmarket themselves over LinkedIn. So how to strike a balance there?
Yes, absolutely. That's, I must say, a very good question. Not sometimes, I must say, most of the times what people do is they sort of over market themselves. They are not exactly what they write in the resume. So let me tell you this, by the way, at whatever company or whatever remote, remote platform you give the job, you give your interviews or you're going through the screening process. If they identify this, they keep taking their notes in that specific application, whatever application they're using. And if they write that this person is a superhero on LinkedIn and he's not zero, but not what he has or she has written on the LinkedIn. So try to keep a balance. And what I mean by that is write only those things which you really know at least. I mean, don't write something which you don't know at all, right? Just as I said, if it's specific to your field, your specialty, right? Yes, you must have a very good knowledge about it. And if it's some sort of a broader knowledge, then even just having the concept would work. Keep a balance.
Okay, thank you, Arif. I think we can take questions from raised hands. So Osama, you can go first.
Yeah, thank you. So I have a question in hiring process, which you shared the slide, in which you told us that there would be a home assignment or an online session. So what companies would expected from us from like home assignment as everybody have their own solutions and have their own experiences. So what companies would expect it from us? Because other technical interviews would get passed through the technical knowledge we gain in our careers. But what about home assignments?
What they're looking for majorly is the domain you are going to work in, right? Are you familiar? There are a couple of things. As I mentioned in, I believe in any of the previous slides, problem solving skills, right? Can you solve the given problem at any given time? Can you solve that problem? That's the first thing. Then critical thinking, your thinking process, right? Where exactly was that? The skills one. Let me just go to that, right? Problem solving, creativity. How much creative are you in your solution? You might not even solve it 100%, but maybe your solution might be very much creative in that technical aspect, right? And yeah, I believe it's more about the thinking process, how you approach a solution, and does it answer the why part or not. This is the most important thing to judge your technical specific skills, your speciality, plus your thinking process, how you approach. And by the way, when you're solving something that clearly tells about you, how much do you know about those practices, those patterns, let's talk about just quickly test automation best practices, right? They will, as soon as you solve something, that's going to tell very quickly about the design patterns you might use in your code. Maybe if you're doing an end-to-end testing, it might end-to-end automation, it might tell them your locator strategy or whatever design pattern that you use. Yeah, so it's a couple of things: problem solving, critical thinking, your creativity, and your technical knowledge.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Okay, we can take one more question, and Junaid, you can go.
Can you hear me, Arif?
Yes, I can hear you today.
People are already asking this question in chat. What do you suggest for completely newbies in any field? Either they should go for just on-site job, or they can directly go for remote jobs.
That's actually a good question. I would say that please try to get some experience, on-site experience, because when you collaborate with people on-site, that gives you a very good picture of a lot of things, right? That tells you how would you need to be in your day-to-day routine, right? How would you be solving problems? How would you communicate with people far away from you? And that is one of the reasons. Why, you know, when COVID happened, the online studying didn't work because people didn't have that specific skill, right? You see in the other competencies, I have written remote work skills. You need to get those skills. You need to be very much good at sitting at a specific place and then solving problems, even if you're sitting with your family. It can be anyone, any place. But yeah, highly recommended is to get some on-site experience. But yeah, if you don't have that, if you're a fresh graduate or you're new, I mean, why not give it a try? Just go ahead and give it a try.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And we can take last question from Hassan.
Hey Arif, can you move over to that slide in which you were showing resume samples? I had one question from that.
Okay, sure. Give me a moment, please.
Sure.
Resume samples. Yes, what's your question? Please start.
Okay, so in that right portion, you can see that hard skill and soft skills. So basically, how are you rating yourself? For example, in leadership, in Photoshop, in Illustrator, JavaScript, you have mentioned. Why 4? Why not 5? Basically, recruiter asks in the interviews, why have you rated yourself? Do you think it is a good way of showing yourself on a resume? Maybe on that interview particular day, you are unable to answer HTML related questions. So how does that honesty factor is reviewed in that interview?
That's actually a really good question, Hassan. First things first, if you don't know, the bar I'm putting in the leadership column in the collaboration JavaScript HTML, if you're not confident, you shouldn't be putting them like this, right? But yeah, how to calculate or evaluate this specific thing? What you can do is take some online assessments, maybe free assessments. Try to take some online free assessments and see at which level do you stand. And for these ones, if you remember, in one of my slides, I mentioned past skills assessment, right? On LinkedIn. Let's say you have written JavaScript in there, try to get there and try to pass that examination, or maybe just a quick test within LinkedIn. Yes, it's not going to be 100% accurate, but yeah, 80-90% is going to tell you about your skills. And then you can just pick that up from there and you can put it in here. I mean, you need to evaluate yourself first, and it can be any way. And whatever that specific tool, website, or place tells you about it, then you can put it in here in your resume.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I think we are over time. So thank you everyone for joining this webinar. We hope this was a useful session for all of you. If you have any other question, you can always reach out to us on LinkedIn or via emails. And we wish you all the best in your future. Have a good night, everyone.
And don't forget to share your feedback anywhere you want on the email or LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you.
Best of luck.